Hi, this is Ian Wright, and this is my podcast on managing stress, and this is part 2, which is looking at beliefs, I think, because we introduced this subject in the first podcast about how our beliefs influence our thoughts and how our thoughts affect how we feel physiologically. When we are feeling stressed, it means that it means that we're feeling overwhelmed, as in it's not normal stress. Normal stress is the normal stress as we talked about, which is the stress of the alarm clock going off in the morning saying, right, we've got to get up. But actually, if you're really, really distressed and you haven't slept for the night and your alarm clock goes off, actually the alarm clock can be very distressing and stressful because you feel like I haven't slept and Sleep's a huge subject, and I'm going to talk about that quite a lot in the future, because it's a massive subject and there's a lot of things that we can do with regards to sleep. A lot of work has been done in the last few years about the effects of belief on our physiology. Wonderful work around placebo, which I've got not enough time to talk about now, how the idea of something can actually affect our physiological response. It's huge how certain drugs, if they're given as placebo, are actually just as effective. For example, antidepressants and certain other drugs have been shown to be just as effective actually because of the thought of them as opposed to the actual physiological working, the biochemistry of them. And it's a huge subject which I think is going to be picked up a lot more in the future. It's a very young subject because actually the implications of the idea that our beliefs can affect our physiological responses to life opens a wide world of understanding and thinking. Also, the idea of nocebo, meaning a negative thinking process. For example, there was some research done in Italy recently about atenolol, which is blood pressure medication. One of the side effects, it said, were impotence in males. And they did some research about the idea of nocebo, and actually what it showed that actually 90% of impotence was caused by the belief that the drug would cause impotence as opposed to actually being the drug itself, where they used placebo drugs instead of real drugs. And actually, but if they told the people that this could cause impotence, it did in 90% of the cases. That shows the power of belief over physiology, a very clear example of it. The problem is, when it comes to stress, there are a lot of our beliefs are unconscious, and actually becoming conscious or engaging in belief consciousness, where we become conscious of underlying habitual beliefs which sit behind a lot of our thinking with regards to our relationship to the world. If we become conscious of them, when we can have an effect on them, and I think that's hugely important and a massive area. For example, what is a limiting belief? I mean, we can have limiting beliefs about a variety of things. For example, the basic ones are beliefs about ourselves. Am I fit? Am I well? Am I beautiful? Am I this? Am I clever? Am I worthy? Am I able to be loved? These are limiting beliefs, these self-beliefs. But there can be society beliefs. Is my country, is my culture worthy? Am I worthy within my society? How does my country relate to another country, etc., etc.? These crazy, deep beliefs that are instinctual come actually out of how we grow, the society we're born in. And actually, for example, there are beliefs which become are very ingrained in our unconsciousness. Like, for example, a parent saying, well, actually, your brother's better at swimming than you. So you believe from a very early on age that actually you're not so good at swimming. Something very simple as that. Our job, actually, in order to kind of de-stress ourselves, is to challenge those beliefs and actually say that I'm willing to do something, I'm able to do something, and I have the abilities to do that. And it can really free us. I mean, this is a huge subject that's been covered in a lot of different subjects, but I'm just introducing it very quickly. What the point is here is to become conscious of things that will limit us and change those with kind of liberating or supporting beliefs. Supporting and liberating beliefs are, I am well, for example. I am loved. I am lovable. I can love. I can do it. I accept myself. I can do this. I'm free. I can heal. I can let go. I can help. These are all freeing beliefs. They unlock us from that state of being kind of shut down by these beliefs. And I think that if we spend a little time sitting down going, actually, what are those big key areas in my life, for example, that are stressing me? And what they're doing is setting this underlying tone. You know, they're filling the glass up before we even start our day and deal with the normal stresses and strains of life, of our jobs, of our interrelationships with our family and our children and our workplace, you know, and the stresses of society, culture, the world, you know, all of the political changes and unrest and everything that's going on externally. If we wake up and we've got these tones which are within our belief system and our thinking before we even start the day, the glass is 3/4 full before we start. And our job here, I think, when we're looking at managing stress, is actually take everything we can out of this glass. So the first point is to look at our beliefs. And so we need to be really honest and say, well, actually, you know, what are my biggest worries? Are my biggest worries love or financial security or my job satisfaction or whatever? And look at what behind those feelings are. What are the beliefs that limit our ability to free those thoughts up that are containing us? For example, you know, if I don't like my job, what belief system within my job and my thoughts about my job is stopping me? Do I believe I can do better, or don't believe that I can or should be happy within my work environment or my relationship environment? So actually, before we make any changes in our jobs, lives, relationships, family, anything, we have to change our thinking about it and our beliefs about it. So maybe we can change that job belief by saying, you know, maybe I can enjoy my work today, even though it's challenging. Just a subtle shift in our thinking about it can sometimes be helpful. There's a point to this, and the point is stressful thoughts, or thoughts that can be stressful, be they conscious, subconscious, or unconscious, have a physiological effect on the body. And what we're looking at is trying to change that physiological effect on the body so that the stress hormones, which we're going to talk about in the next section, the sympathetic nervous system, the cortisol, some of these long-term, medium-term and short-term response to stress, aren't affecting our physiologies, our immune systems and our nervous systems, and making us feel stressed and overwhelmed, and can leading to us being unwell. And we need to change this. We need to take this out of the glass. So we need to challenge things that, in a gentle way, we're not aggressively challenging. We're looking at what's limiting me. Do I feel safe? So actually, a good start to do is to write down, if you can, and be totally honest about beliefs that are limiting. What are my limiting beliefs? Do I have a belief that I'm not well, underlyingly, for example? Okay. When we find a belief that we feel is limited, I want you to do the following process with it, which is a very simple process. The first thing is to accept that you have limiting beliefs, not judge them. Allow that limiting belief. So we say you have a feeling that I'm not well, for example. So allow yourself to think that I'm not well. Allow that, give it space. As soon as you allow something, it softens it in your mind and gives it space. It physiologically changes the response of your body to it. I allow the fact that I don't feel well. Now, then, when you do that, you change it to saying, I feel I can be well. Or I will be well, even if you're not feeling well right now, for example. I will be well. So you put an affirmative comment in your brain, in your memory. I can be well. How about that? I can be well. Or I can be happy. Or I can be loved. Or I can help. Or I can heal. If you're unwell, I can heal. So what you want to do is go through all these areas, find spaces which limit us, allow them, accept them, that you have them, allow them to be, and then change them with a positive comment. I can be well. I can have enough money. I will have enough money. I will relate. I will be loved. I am able to be loved. I will be free. I will be comfortable. I will sleep. Okay? Very simple. But actually the point is bringing consciousness to it. And as soon as we bring consciousness to it and practice allowing and then softening it, just changing it to something a little bit more positive, it almost resets the computer in our brain, which softens just slightly the release of cortisol, the sympathetic nervous system, which we'll talk about next time, and just allows our consciousness to shift these unconscious limiting beliefs. We'll pick up on this. This is just an introduction. Next time we're going to talk about our physiological responses to stress and how we can actually change them by changing certain breathing patterns. Okay. I wish you well.